So this morning we have before us 4 of the people that are part of this community. And I want you to know that I realized, I think except for Mary, 3 of them are very quiet, and yet they're very active behind the scene. Mary, we know we know Mary. So I want you to just start off by giving them a little love, because they're not used to speaking in front of people, and I think they're all going, do I have to do this? But they want to. They have something exciting to share with you. So let's give them a little love here. This is Mary Bars, Rich Renner, Martha Ward, one of our new practitioners, and Mary Lynn Brown. And the first 2 are going to share with you how it is they are already using these principles to bring about the good that they are and that they see in their vision for spirit out into the world. And then Martha and Mary Lynn are going to share with you a vision that they have that they are each looking to materialize and bring about. And of course, all four of them welcome you to participate if you would like to in any way. So we're going to pass this along so people can hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yes? No?
Hold on.
Closer? Oh,
there we go.
That's scary. Okay. I wrote everything down because I'm no good like standing up and just speaking, and because I don't have practice for that. So here we go. Sharing my vision to take into the world. At first, I want to give you a little bit of background on how I arrived at this time, at this moment, in this space. 11 years ago, I found this building in the heart of downtown Las Cruces. 11 years ago, I found Science of Mind in this building. 11 years ago, I met many of you for the first time, and since then have come to know many new friends as well. Today, our lives are intertwined, and we are one. Today, we are running a business. We have a business creating my kimonos. They're fun, fashionable, and functional medical wear. That's what I'm wearing. This is my kimono I have on. We are making a difference in this world, in the lives of many. Our clothing gives dignity to those on their own cancer journeys and comfort to many who face other medical issues. We work hard and we dream big. We show up every day and we do the work. We have faith, not fear. We are successful because Science of Mind has given us the tools we need to believe in our vision. In case you're not clear about the details of how we created this wonderful, successful, fulfilling business, I'll help clear the details for you. 3 years ago, after my own personal cancer journey, I was given a mission to create my kimono for others. It came from Source, not from me. The idea was good and required time to come to fruition. This spring, our center offered a Prosperity Plus class, and I knew it was a special gift that I needed to take advantage of. 10 weeks I spent learning new skills, thought patterns, and it was wonderful. I was reminded that I'm never alone, and prosperity takes many forms. I was challenged to dream bigger and step out of my fear-based beliefs, to know together we could and we were doing this exciting work together. Without this class, we would not be where we are today. The curriculum taught that all the resources we needed to make our beautiful, wonderful business successful was already available to us. Rev Bonnie and each of my classmates were the we. My family is the we. This congregation is the we. We are stronger together, and every time I need strength, I look to Source, knowing it's available to all. Limited financial resources were no longer an obstacle. We started a GoFundMe page because we were challenged too, and we just began. This was bigger than making money. This was about helping so many others. We were challenged in class to feel and not just say the words. The dream brought tears to my eyes. The big picture looks something like this. We will create jobs for those who are in need or desire financial help. We will teach skills to last a lifetime. I saw tables full of material being cut, sewing machines humming, and people sharing their stories. And I saw all this happening here in this very building. I saw the bigger dream, a dream of a nonprofit business, cutting, sewing, and giving away my kimonos to anyone in need. Now I see cities all over the country filled with rooms full of people working and sharing science of mind principles, sharing joy because it works. By the way, we have an employee. She's a young mother, and she's so special. She comes to work every day with me, and we do it one day at a time, from the ground up. She's learned to sew, to create an online presence, to start her own business. She's learning new thought principles every day as we work together. Her future is brighter, and she has a beautiful child. And now that child's future is just as bright. She will always have a way to take care of that child. Thank you. You keep hearing me say we, because I am but a vast drop in this ocean of humanity. And I'm but one member of this movement of new thought. And I'm but one person that comes through this door. I'm only one of the we. I'm strong because we stand together to hold each other up. And this center is our community. Our business is part of a larger marketplace, larger than Las Cruces, larger than New Mexico. We are a reflection of what science of mind teaches. With each order we take, we give back 10% to the spiritual center in the heart of downtown Las Cruces. The more we spread the word about the good my kimono is doing to comfort others, the more we prosper. We are making a difference. You and I make terrific business partners. Close your eyes and feel the dream with me. Imagine the face of another as they receive a gift of my kimono. Imagine what it feels like knowing someone ate today because we taught them the skills to work for themselves. Now imagine someone sharing science of mind principles because it simply is what our kimono business is based upon. Now imagine writing a check to the center in an amount that keeps our community strong. Our doors open, our hearts are full, and we dream big. Now dream bigger. Thank you. You're the best business partners I'll ever have.
I've written some things down too. Good morning. I'm Rich, and Reba and I have been coming to the center for about a year now. And the recent theme that Rev Bonnie and the others have spoken about here, a world that works for all, is one that inspires me. It's an incredibly important one for me and has dogged me for years, actually, since before I was in college in the 1970s. And that's partly because when I was in high school, I had an opportunity to see people living in poverty in South America. And that experience has colored my politics and my daily choices, my spirituality, and my choice of professions. So I became a pediatrician wanting to address poverty and inequality by providing healthcare opportunities, by providing healthcare. So opportunities for this service is basically on an individual basis, one child, one family at a time. However, about 20 years ago, a new friend introduced me to an organization called Results, and the opportunity to be in service to others on a different scale. Instead of one individual, one child, one family at a time, I can work to help thousands of families, even actually millions. And you might ask, how is that possible? Well, Results makes this possible. It's a movement of passionate, committed people who together use our voices to influence political decisions that will end poverty. And I realize that's a pretty ambitious goal, the end of poverty. How's that going to happen? Well, as volunteers, we receive training, support, and inspiration to become skilled advocates. In time, we learn to effectively advise policymakers, our members of Congress, guiding them towards decisions that inspire access to health, education, and economic opportunity for all. So together we realize the incredible power we possess as citizens to use our voices to change the world, to realize a world that works for all. We volunteers are backed by in-depth research, the legislative expertise of a small results staff, and detailed training. We learn to write letters, work with the media, and meet with our members of Congress. So with every hour of our time, we multiply our impact through advocacy, whether to change policies to support families putting food on their tables, or helping raise millions of dollars for the most vulnerable children. Results advocates are not paid lobbyists. We are volunteers. We come from every corner of the country and from around the world. We prove that every voice has power, and that by bringing all of our voices together, we can change the world. In other words, we can create a world that works for all. So let's start a conversation about how you can be involved. Thank you, and thank you, Reverend Bonnie, for the opportunity.
Hi, I'm Martha Ward, and as most of you know, we just finished practitioner training, and for that, we had an assignment at the very last class, which was to answer this question: how do you intend to bring science of mind out into the community? That was not exactly my intent in going through this process, but it connects very much with who I am and where I've been in my life. As a college student, I was a chemistry major, worked in research for a few years, but that I found to be boring, doing repetitive tests day after day. So in my mid-30s, I made a career change, went back to school, got a master's in school psychology, a certificate of advanced graduate study in counseling psychology, and then began a 30-year career as a school psychologist. Mostly working with high school students, or adolescents anyway, middle school and high school students. And through that process, it linked me with my own days as a teenager and asking those big questions about who am I, why am I here, what am I supposed to be doing, that kind of thing. And I find that youth today are even more concerned about some of those questions and some of those answers. And so as I would work with them, questions in seeking out what their support systems were, I would ask them about their spiritual practices or their religions or what they did. And that would often open up doors of conversation. And I always wanted to have resources at my fingertips to share with students, non-committal kinds of things, non-proselytizing kinds of things. And so once I learned about science of mind and started taking classes and understanding the principles, I felt what a powerful tool this could be for teenagers, and how my life would have been so different had I understood this instead of traditional religious dogma. So I feel this is so empowering that I would really like, my dream is to see young people, teenagers and young adults, learn more about the principles of science of mind so that they too can take a bit more control of their lives and direct it in a way that fulfills them as humans. And so as a part of that assignment, I came across a book by Deepak Chopra called Fire in the Heart, in which he talks about being a 15-year-old student in India and meeting a teacher, an ancient teacher, who spent 4 days with him. And so I developed a study guide, actually, just as a model to use in a book study group with adolescents, to look at this book, to do some reading and do some thinking about the questions that it poses. Let's see if I can find it easily here, yes. He meets with this guru or this being for 4 days and covers talks like, do I have a soul? How do wishes come true? What is the supreme force in the universe? And how can I change the world? So that's a big theme with Deepak Chopra, is as he explains how he brought up his own children to understand principles and to take things out into the world and to give to others, and that through that the process is opened for energy to flow more and more into the lives of the individuals practicing those principles. So I'd like to, ideally, at some point, be involved in youth, working with teenagers and doing a group, perhaps a group book study, or perhaps just a plain informal discussion group. CSL has a youth practitioner program, and I'm going to be looking into that as well. So it's wonderful to be here, and happy to see you all.
Kind of flows nicely into what I'm going to be talking about. So now that I'm out of school with all this time on my hands, I've been hit up pretty regular about, we're going to start a choir? So I've been procrastinating on that, number one, because choir is one of my least experiences of music. And number two, because I really want it to be something unique and not just another run-of-the-mill choir. And so what I've come up with is way bigger than me, and I'm going to need all of you. Bonnie ran across an article in one of the Science of Mind magazines about a choir called SOAR, S-O-A-R. And they're not affiliated with the Science of Mind, but how it got started was a very experienced choir director was asked by somebody in the Human Service Department if she would coach one of the kids that was in her case. And so she did, and she realized there was a real need for kids in the foster care system and adopted children for a place where they could fit in, realized that there were other people like them. And so she started this multi-generational choir for kids in the, like I said, foster or adopted system, and ages 8 to 18. This is a huge deal. I mean, they're a nonprofit. They have a board of directors, the whole thing. So this is way over my head, but I still want to shoot for something like this. Those of you that have been around me and Randy for a while know that our 4 children have quite nicely introduced us to justice system, mental health facilities, foster care even. And through all of these experiences, we realized just how awful the whole system is. And so if this is a chance to help some of the kids sort of stay out of that system, then it means a lot to us. So, let's see what this choir has been recognized nationally as a progressive organization in the field of child welfare. one that provides a positive community for children with diverse needs. They also serve a meal before every rehearsal, introducing the children to healthy eating, and it's also a chance, instead of just looking at the back of somebody's head, for a time for interaction. So the musical benefits of singing or performing any instrument, and this is not listening, this is actually performing, it releases chemicals, and some of the chemicals that release help manage anxiety and stress, help with immune defense, and release chemicals associated with trust and bonding. So music is an important thing. Rehearsals also require sustained effort, so it's a skill as well, and focus. So I would like to provide a safe community for at-risk youth and families, where they can come have a meal. Hopefully, eventually, we will have trained mentors. Martha. And a place where they can have unconditional love, yet be held accountable, and teach personal and life skills. All ages learn from each other, so I really love the multi-generational aspect as well. This group also takes like a summer trip or activity, so that's just more chances to create community for these kids. So, the skills that I need help with. I have a bucket over there on the piano, lots of paper that I expect every one of them to be written on. Because even though some of the skills may not be needed at this moment, there are so many skills that will be needed. And so I just want you to all share with us what you could offer to help with this. The first, I think, very first thing we need is business-minded people to help in figuring out how to pull something like this together. Would it be under the umbrella of CSL, but separate like the bookstore? Would it be its own entity? That type of thing. Need help with organization. I do know 2 grant writers that are willing to help with that. So eventually, and whatever, we'll need help with fundraising, we'll need people that cook, we'll need help with food, mentoring, drivers, publicity, simple uniforms. This is also not just a choir, it will, anybody who plays an instrument that would like to be involved can also do that. Eventually, I hope there's a paid staff. We need small, easy choreography, maybe music tutors, people that do yoga, therapists, adult training, whatever. Whatever your skill is, I'm sure it is needed in this project. So, thank you, and I hope to see a full bucket.
I don't know if you clearly got that this choir is not just for kids 8 to 18, that's who we would be serving, but it's for you all to be mentors as part of the choir if you would like to sing and mentor one of the kids in the choir. That's the vision that we're holding. And it's open right now. It's a vision, just like all of this is a vision, and some of them have started a bit and some are still in that beginning stage. But that's how we know this stuff works. Is we start with a vision, and we start with the fire behind the vision, which these guys obviously have for what it is that they're about. So I want to just thank you again. Thank you, Mary, Rich, Martha, and Mary Lynn. We're released from the stage. And as Spirit would have it, some of the questions that you asked flow right in exactly with some of the things that they've already shared. So I want to just start sort of what I think would be the beginning here. One of the questions is how many, did I do that? Randy's trying to get this ready for upload. So these questions came from all of you. If anybody has another one that hasn't been turned in yet, wave it at me at the end here and we'll see if we can get to it. So one question here is, how many countries in the world is the Center for Spiritual Living present in, and how do we interact together? The exact number is an answer I'm going to have to get back to you on. I don't know the exact number, but I do know that we are in places like Russia, the Ukraine. We're in South America, in Mexico, and across the United States. And so I don't know beyond that how many other specific countries we're in. How do we interact with each other? Through our gathering is one of the big things. We have two times during the year that we come together. One is sort of a business meeting gathering that's usually in February. And then we have other things like what just took place down in Mexico that Peggy went to, where people go down and gather and also get inspiration and share with each other. Now that we have internet, the ministers have a listserv where we interact with each other on the listserv. All the practitioners have a listserv where they interact with each other from all around the world on that listserv. We also have our youth programs, which was another one of the questions. And Martha said CSL has a youth program. And you might have wondered, because you don't see youth here right now, and we know that we lost our beautiful grandchildren of Mary Lynn's who were part of the youth program. So we have, Leanne took a break from working with our children, but that is our vision, that we do have youth that we serve here. Some centers have more youth than others. And across the country, there's a large youth program. They have a camp in the summer and a camp in the winter that youth go to also learn from counselors there more about these principles and how they can work in their lives. And the exciting thing, I think, about the camp, because my own son and a young girl that I was helping to raise for a while, they went to camp and they came back like different kids. They came back so excited about who they were and felt so full of joy and love and connection that we wanted to send them every week so that we had the benefits of that influence. It was wonderful. They'd come back just so amazingly happy with the world. And what I know, what I see in my son is he doesn't come to a religious science church, but he got those principles. And so he's just finishing law school, and yet in an environment that is known for being competitive, he is constantly bringing them together to study together, cheering each other on. In both places he went to law school, that's been his approach. And so his cohort is very close. They don't compete with each other, they support each other, which to me is part of what religious science did for him. It showed him how to bring that kind of light into the world. So our youth are one way that we connect. And in fact, originally, if you don't know, when Ernest Holmes started speaking and people wanted to create a church, how to go about doing that ended up causing us to divide. So there was one group of people that wanted to run the business one way and one group that wanted to run it the other way. And several years ago, the youth, who all still went to camp together, said, "What is this? You all teach oneness and you have two different strains of this church." So that's when the two churches started talking and have since come back together and are now known as the Centers for Spiritual Living. So I think that's pretty neat because they taught us. And I remember being around, I was up at the center in Albuquerque when that happened, and some of the youth from up there were the ones saying, "What are you doing? Why do we have two, Religious Science International and the United Centers for Spiritual Living when we're all teaching the same thing?" So the youth are part of this whole process. And so our vision and what we're doing right now is tithing to that youth program through this center. We're envisioning bringing youth in, whether it's through the choir, whether it's through workshops that Martha gets to do, or both. But I see us growing and including youth in that process. So how we interact is often once or twice a year at these conventions, and then within the state, We interact with each other. Sometimes there's a gathering. Over the several summers, there was a gathering in northern New Mexico where we all went to that. Last weekend, I believe there were 4 or 5 churches that had practitioner students paneling together. We all got together at the Rio Grande Center for Spiritual Living to do that process. So we come together for different events like that as well. I hope that answered that question. Then I think the next question that would be important to answer, what is the purpose of this church? Now, I don't know if that question was specific to this church or the Centers for Spiritual Living as a whole, but on your bulletin, it has our mission statement and our vision. And our vision is what I say every week, so I should have it memorized, but I don't. Does anybody else have it memorized? A world, yes, in loving partnership for the good of all. And there goes the world, it just rolled up. And the overall vision for all of the centers is now this global heart vision, which you hear the phrase, a world that works for everyone, as part of it. It's quite extensive. And so again, if you just Google, if you have that access, if you don't, let me know and I'll pull it up for you. Global heart vision, you can get the entire vision. But part of it does have to do with a world that's free from poverty. And so what Rich was sharing this morning fits right into that global heart vision. So we know that there are enough resources, that this world is created with enough resources, and we want to see that distributed in such a way that no one has to live in poverty. And so there's that larger vision, and then each center is a place where you can come and learn about these principles, learn to be more open to people who are different than you. How do we get along in a world that works for everyone? Then we have to understand each other and see each other as whole and perfect and complete, as we say. And so we teach classes here. Ernest Holmes started as a place where he gave lectures, but he also had discussion groups. And each church that's now called a center starts as a book study, as a group of people that come together just to study what it is we teach. And as the book study grows, they can become a teaching chapter. And then as you grow, you get to move into the status of church or a center. And again, the purpose is to bring people together, to learn together, to grow together, to talk about what it is that we teach, and help to then bring it out into the world. How is it that we can take it into the world? So one of the other questions, which I thought was interesting, isn't reading from the book of religious science, i.e. Ernest Holmes' book, the same as reading from the Bible, a man telling women what to do? Now, I can understand feeling that way, because when I first read that, Ernest Holmes wrote back in he passed away in the 60s, so he wrote in the 60s and prior. And so the terminology still sometimes says he, although if you look at how he talks about spirit and God, he's more open to different pronouns than traditional teachings. He not only says he, but he also talks about it with a capital I. He uses a lot of different words, not just God, but the divine, love, life. All the words that are capitalized are words that he sees synonymous with God or spirit. And so I believe that had he written today, it would be much more gender neutral. And Home Office and the Science of Mind magazine, in fact, they just had an article. One of the people who wrote into the editor in the Science of Mind magazine said, I appreciate you trying to make it gender neutral, blah, blah. So people are doing both. They're going back and forth as to whether it's necessary or not. I personally came out of a background where I appreciated the gender neutral. Other people don't seem to find it difficult to read the word man and realize it includes all of us. But what I do know is the teaching is all inclusive. It's talking about all of us, men, women, all races, all sexual orientations, all genders. It includes everyone as a creation of spirit, as an expression of spirit. And so I understand that question, although we don't say that what Ernest Holmes wrote is like the Bible in that you have to follow it word for word. In fact, he himself says in there, take it, see if it works, try it, experiment with it, and then figure out what works for you. He also didn't say he had the final word. He said, stay open at the top. You have a direct ability in your own meditation and your own contemplation to understand what Spirit wants for you. And you don't need somebody, you don't need me up here telling you what it says. I just share with you my experience, hopefully to inspire you to think deeper about your own experience. And so that's different than some people's interpretation of the Bible. Now, there are people who interpret the Bible differently as well. We use the Bible as a reference and a source as well. Ernest Holmes came out of a Christian background, but he studied all kinds of religions and put them together in what he presented as principles, because these came without a lot of doctrine, without a lot of rules. People will ask me sometimes, well, what about this or what about that? We don't take a stand essentially on certain things. We expect that you, by going within, can determine for you what is right for you. So hopefully that answers that somewhat. It's not read in that same way. And Ernest Holmes wrote a lot more than just the Science of Mind textbook. And you'll notice that we read from a lot of different sources, not just that. Then there were several questions about the children's program. Will we revive it? Are there young people or teenagers in the New Thought centers? My children chose to attend services years ago, and I wonder why the center does not attract youth. In terms of this center, I don't know. That's something I would like to see us work on. That's a vision that I have. Now, the youngest minister in our movement is a minister in Albuquerque, and they have lots of youth in her program. Now, I don't know if that has something to do with it or not, but they had a strong youth program when I was there, and she's now the minister up there, and they still have a strong youth program out of the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living. I think it just depends on the numbers of families with children that we can draw. And so as we hold that vision and bring your friends, we will put Leanne back in place or someone else. Kathleen Wolf is also able to teach the youth in the church here right now. And if you're interested in working with the youth, see me, and we'll see what we can do about really promoting that and bringing that together and making it happen. Some people are unaware that we have a whole space upstairs. There's a couple rooms and a bathroom upstairs that need renovation, but that could be a youth space as well as the space that we had out here. So there's room to grow and develop. It's just holding that vision and seeing it happen. And I see now that the Hale took care of a lot of the structural needs for us, we can now move forward with these visions and these ideas that we have. This question is, I understand it takes 2 years to become a practitioner, and what is the 2-year agenda? Well, let me first explain, in case you don't know, the term practitioner is used both with a small p and a capital P. You'll notice when Ernest Holmes talks about it, or different New Thought traditions talk about it. A practitioner is anyone who practices these principles. So we're all practitioners. A licensed practitioner with a capital P is someone who's gone through the training to do what some people might call spiritual counseling. It's prayer work with you to hold and see that truth for you and work with you to support you in whatever direction it is that you're wanting to go and wanting that support. In some parts of the world, people use their practitioner weekly. They call them for whatever, or they meet with them to get that additional prayer support. Some people have a specific practitioner. My mother paid her practitioner once a month, whether she called him for prayer or not, knowing that she was on his prayer list in his consciousness continually. And that was her way of feeling that she had that prayerful support. So there's different relationships that people can have with their practitioner, But the idea is that you are trained to work with people. We, as practitioners, have to also follow the laws related to any counselor in the state. So if we hear from you that there is a desire to hurt yourself or someone else, we do have to report that. We have to follow those laws. And it's similar to working with a counselor, but there are differences, and that's part of what the training is in those 2 years. What is the difference? And we go through that. We have the prayer room now, and I know that one of the things that Martha has wanted to do is set up some times to be available to people during the week in the prayer room. Now, you might have noticed that she's taken off. And so, again, I also know that it's important to address what I call the elephants in the room. So some of you might have heard and some of you might not have heard, but Reverend Carol has been asked to step down from her position at Wellspring. And the Wellspring board is talking to their congregation today, and they're regrouping. So Martha still wanted to share with you, but she's on their board, and so she ran to go over there and be of support and participate there. And Tina Bailey also is over there as a practitioner to support them with spiritual support and prayer. And so I just know that we all hold our sister community Wellspring in our hearts and our consciousness, because this center has been there. We've been there without a minister and trying to figure out how to maintain our community. So we just support them in that process right now today. So as a practitioner then, you spend the first year of studies really looking at your own self. You go through all the different areas that you might have stuff that needs to heal, that needs clarity, so that you can get comfortable, I would say, like in your own skin with who you are. Then the second year is focused on how do you then become of service to someone else. So that's in a nutshell what those 2 years take you through. And we're almost out of time, but I want to get to this last one. This last one I'm not sure I can answer from up here. What are the challenges in life and who am I? And these are good questions. What I would say to that one is take a class. That's what we're all about. We talk about those challenges in life. We talk about who we are. We get clearer about who we are and how it is that we are that spirit expressing in the world, and how we can better express it clearly and feel confident. I just so applaud these 4 people that came up here today, because none of them are comfortable speaking in front of a group. And yet they did it because they're passionate about how it is that they are the light in this world. And I know that each one of you has a story and a way that you take this light out there. And so my vision, like I said, now that we've taken care of a lot of the structural stuff, my vision is to really start ramping up how we take who we are, the light that we are out into the world. Right now, I'd say it couldn't be a better time. There's a lot to be done as we're shifting this world into a world that works for everyone. And so those were, I'd say, a lot more easy than I was expecting today, and I am very grateful for that. And we'll keep doing this. Once a year, I'm going to try and give you an opportunity for questions. If you have any that you would still like to see me answer, slip me a card, and I will work on addressing them as I'm up here over the next several months. Please take some time during the meal to talk to the 4 that were up here if you have further questions for them, or if you'd like to get on board with their vision. Martha will be available more after this week, so save your questions for her if you have any for her. But what I do know is that as we continue to do this work, as we continue to lift ourselves up in consciousness, we are creating a world that works for everyone. And so it is.